Welcome back, and thank you for joining for another whiskey review. Today, I have a kind of special independent bottling. It is a 25-year-old Speyside from the Spirit Still. They refer to it as their Give and Tell 25-year-old. Now, it says this is a Speyside distillery, and a clue that they gave us on the side of the bottle is it says, the Give and Tell Speyside single malt from the distillery located in one of Scotland's most famous whiskey glens. There is nothing illicit about the whiskey, and pistols at the ready for anyone who says otherwise. By George, this is a great dram. Wordsmiths shall divine its origin. So, I like to think of myself as a wordsmith. Sadly, the guy who turned me on to this bottle told me this was a Glenlivet, 25 years old. So Glenlivet, very popular distillery. Don't really touch upon many of their whiskeys anymore since I had already covered the 12, 15, 18, and 21. But this particular one is a cask strength bottling. It is the 1992 vintage ex-bourbon barrel. And I believe this is cask strength because it is at 51.4%. So it's at least a high strength, perhaps a cask strength. This is a single barrel. And there were 256 bottles produced, and I got bottle 116. So a little bit about the Spirit Still. I didn't know a ton about them until I got this bottle, but I looked them up. Basically, what they say is they'll never have two releases that were exactly the same. Everything is essentially a one-off, and they had a really old whiskey, like a 52-year-old whiskey. Forgive me, I can't remember the name of the distillery. I think they were selling it for like $400 or something like that, or 400 euros, which is incredible value for a 52-year-old. 25-year-old, quarter century, which I believe is a Glenlivet ex-bourbon barrel, was a pretty good deal. Picked this up for a little bit less than $200, and that's including shipping and everything else. So I was pretty happy with the purchase. As you can see, I've gotten to know the bottle. I've had it for probably, I would say, 3 months. As I do with most of my bottles, I open them up right away so I can get right to getting those things oxidizing so I can get the best out of them before I bring them to you guys. Plus, make sure that I get plenty of tastings before I bring it. All right, so let's talk about a little bit. This is natural color. So it's very, very light gold, almost champagne color. I don't know if you can pick up the legs there, but legs are thick and oily, come down fairly slow, and they're not really uniform. It's kind of fall all over the place. Usually a good sign of a very thick, oily whiskey. So I'm pretty excited with this one. All right, anything else I want to tell you guys about it? I talked about the ABV, ex-bourbon barrel, 1982, 25 years old. This is the info that they give me. Not a ton of info on this bottle. Not the sexiest bottle I've ever seen, but as I can promise you, it's not about what's on the bottle or the bottle itself. It's about what's in it. Let's get to that. Right away on the nose, you get soft fruits and vanilla. Soft pear, soft green apple. Definitely a lot of vanilla. And you know, this is something I've been struggling with my tasting notes. A few times I've said raisin or white raisin, and a few times I said like a light fig or a light date. Now those are typically flavors that come from an ex-sherry matured cask, where this is just an ex-bourbon cask, so there isn't any sherry maturation in this at all. But I still, for some reason, get like that light raisin, light fig, light date type of smell on this nose, which is really nice, by the way, because it's subtle. It's not like a really dark, rich raisin or fig. It's just a very, very light one that kind of intermingles well with the vanilla and the pear and the apple. Really, really nice nose on this. When I first opened the bottle, it was a little bit sharp as far as the fruit flavors. The pear and the apple were very sharp and crisp. Almost felt cold. Not that the whiskey was cold, but almost had like a cold smell to it, if that makes any sense to you. And aside from the flavors I just mentioned, maybe a little bit of cinnamon on this. Let's give it a sip. You get that fruit first. Apples, maybe mangoes, or like a very, very light orange. But I tell you what, there's a lot more spice on the palate than there was initially on the nose. Really, as soon as you swallow, you get that cinnamon spice, you know, right here on the sides. Really nice, spicy cinnamon, almost like a peppery cinnamon. It's really distinctive. I don't have a ton to compare this to. It reminds me of a Glenlivet 18 as far as maybe some of like the lighter, fruitier notes. But aside from that, I've never had a Glenlivet, assuming that is what this is. Never had a Glenlivet even close to this as far as the richness, the mouthfeel, and just the fruitiness and the complexity. I've had a 25 and a 21-year-old. I think I've reviewed both of those for you guys. This one here, roughly 40% of the price of the standard 25-year-old bottling, and not at 43%, at a 51.4. And like with any whiskey, once you taste them at cask strength, I don't care if it's Macallan, if you had the old cask strength 10-year-old, as it compares to say like the 12-year-old today, or if you've had, say, like, if you're a fan of Glenfarclas, if you had a family cask compared to some of the standard offerings, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This is an incredible value for the age statement, for the ABV. But aside from that, man, this really kind of shows you what Glenlivet could be if they did more cask strength bottlings, made them a little bit more affordable, and you know, had some longer age statements on a few of these whiskeys. Anyway, I threw a little bit of water in here. Wanted to ramble a little bit when I gave it some time to kind of intermingle with the whiskey. Giving it a few swirls, let's see what else we can pick up on the nose. Okay, so I pick up a little bit more spice with water in here. The vanilla is still right there. The fruits soften up even more. They were very soft fruits to begin with, but on top of that, you add this to it, you add a little bit of water to it, it softens up those fruits even further. I would say if I had my preference, again, I would go, as far as the nose, I would go neat with this. I think you picked up a few more things, as well as the more pleasant notes about this particular whiskey. The nice fruits seem to be a little bit more fuller, probably the best way I can say it without the water. Now, I will say this. I am picking up a mango on the nose where I didn't before. And I know I picked it up, I said I picked it up on the palate, so I tried to make sure that wasn't influencing my opinion on this, but I will say this. The mango is definitely more noticeable once you throw a few splashes of water in there, to where I think the apple's kind of taking a step back. You still get a little bit of that pear, and you get that nice mango. You know, this is another case of just, depending on where you're at in your whiskey journey, especially if you're here in the States, if you can get things shipped to your state, it's a good idea to just Google different independent bottlers. So, you know, the Spirit Still, from what I've been able to read, is not they don't distill any whiskey of their own. Essentially, they go and pick out casks from distilleries that will sell, and they pick out what they want, you know, do bottlings. It looks like just one cask at a time, and that's essentially the bottling, and they don't go back to it, or they don't do multiple barrels and mix them together or do anything else like that. It's just one barrel at a time. This is what it is, and then you move on to the next one. So check them out, spiritstill.com. Found them on there, very reasonable price on a few really, really nice whiskeys. And I can't stress enough, man, that 52-year-old, which I don't know, I can't remember who the distiller was, $400 or 400 euros. Man, you are never going to be able to taste a 52-year-old whiskey for less than that, or at least not anything that I've seen around here. So have some fun with some older age statements on some of these independent bottlers. All right, last little sip, give it a score, tell you what I think. All the same things, really nice vanilla once you swallow, really nice spice on the side, nice peppery cinnamon, even still with a few drops of water, and then just a really nice mango and light pear on the palate. It's good. It's good for, I think I paid $190 for it, roughly. That's what it translated to in American, as far as getting it shipped over here. So definitely something that I would be interested in picking up another bottle of. As far as the whiskey score, it's good. It's cask strength. Has a lot of things I like. A very summertime drink, very summertime dram. You know, around here in the States, it's We actually had a really nice spring. It's late April. It's probably around 78 degrees. Had a couple of these sitting outside after I cut my grass, and it was really lovely. Actually, I picked up a few grassy notes when I was sitting outside drinking it, but I haven't in here inside the house, so I'm not gonna say there's any grassy notes. It was probably just the fact that I cut the grass and I was in close proximity to it. Anyway, I'm gonna give it a score of 89 out of 100. Really good whiskey. Nice, fruity, vanilla, a little bit of cinnamon, cask strength, very, very easy drinking whiskey. If you pick something like this up, don't be afraid of the ABV on this one. Even though it is 51.4, certainly does not feel that way as far as its alcohol punch on the palate. Though I will say it is pretty viscous on the palate, so there is viscosity to it. It's just not really high as far as an alcohol punch. Really beautiful whiskey, 89 out of 100. I enjoy it. I want to thank you for once again joining me for another one of Whiskey Reviews, and let you know I have a few really nice whiskeys coming up. I'm doing one more independent bottler as far as what I have coming up. I have a Port Charlotte, which I'll probably bring you as my next review. Also have a Talisker 30. What else did I pick up? Octomore 10-year-old, third release, I believe, and the Ardbeg 23. So those will be the next 4 videos that I bring you guys. Probably the Port Charlotte next, but good stuff here to come. Look forward to bringing it to you. Hope everyone's doing well. Until next time, I will see you in the comments section. Happy drinking.